Is Albert Breer on the phone?
Albert Breer's on.
He is there in New England. Are you there at Gillette, sir, Albert?
I am, Rich. What's up?
Tell me, give me the boots on the ground sense of how excited that town is for tonight, Albert.
I think that there's almost a palpable anger, and I know that sounds weird because this is the day they're going to drop the banner and it should be a big celebration. But, I mean, we all know the dynamics here. And, it just happens to be raining tonight. You already have people, and I just got done doing radio here, the restaurant across the way from the stadium, and people are already shrinking. So I think it's going to be a unique environment for one of these. And I know you've been to a lot of them.
Yep.
This just feels a little different, and I think that there is – it's almost like, the team wants to make a statement coming back after everything they've been through, but it's almost like the entire region wants to make a statement. And I think that there is, again, like just a palpable anger there on the part of the fan base going into this one.
So if this is Groundhog Day, because here we are again after a scandal-ridden, scandal-marred offseason for New England, if this is Groundhog Day, then the fans are driving angry tonight. It's essentially what you're saying.
You're the best with the analogies. Yes, I will give you that one. Absolutely.
So who sees the shadow tonight, though? That's the question. I mean, it's raining. That's an interesting aspect for this evening, Albert. Let's put it this way. What type of defense do you expect from the Steelers tonight? Because I know you spent some time in Latrobe as well this summer.
It better not be the defense they had a couple weeks ago in the third preseason game against Buffalo because, I mean, Taylor, Manuel, and Castle in that game, looked like Luck, Rodgers, and Brady. They what the Steelers need, they need the transition from a coaching standpoint to work, going from LeBeau to Keith Butler, and that's a big transition, of course, because LeBeau had been so entrenched there. He wants to be a little bit more aggressive. But the bigger thing is there's a group of about 5 or 6 young players that all need to take a major step forward at once for them to be anywhere near the standard that they've set over the course of the last 15 or 20 years on that side of the ball. Talking about guys like Shazier and Jarvis Jones and Bud Dupree and Cameron Hayward and Stephen Tuitt. And there are a large number of players that are really going to have to kind of improve all at once. And it's a lot to ask, We know they're going to be able to score points, particularly when they get Bell and Bryant back and then eventually Pouncey. Whether this is a good team or a great team, I think is going to hinge on the improvement of that small group of young defensive players who they desperately need to take steps forward.
And what about the defensive line for New England? I know there's a lot of talk about their secondary, and for good reason, with Revis and Browner no longer there. But what about the guys up front for New England, Albert, on a night where there's the all-pro center for Pittsburgh, Maurkice Pouncey's out?
Well, on balance, it's going to need to be better over the course of the year because you presume they're going to be worse in the secondary. That's just what happens when you lose a transcendent player like Darrelle Revis. So, it's interesting because it's almost like they're adding 2 first-round picks in the defensive line. They drafted Dominique Easley last year from Florida and really gave him a redshirt year. He was coming off of an ACL tear. And then they draft Malcolm Brown this year. Now, Vince Wilfork's gone, so on the interior it's going to look a lot different. They bring in Sheard from Cleveland, and that's going to allow them to pace Ninkovich and Jones a little bit more. So they're counting on that group to be a lot better and to be faster and to be more athletic. And because of the losses they've had in the secondary, those guys are going to need to be. They've got great linebackers. We know that with Hightower and Mayo and Collins. A lot for New England is going to hinge on whether or not that defensive line is better at the same rate. I guess this is a weird way to put it, but improves at the same rate that, or a better rate than what the rate at which the secondary regresses without Revis and Browner and Arrington, those guys.
Albert Breer, my compadre from the NFL Media Group, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's going on with Kam Chancellor, Albert? What can you tell me here?
I still think it's hard for me. This would be the first holdout that goes into the season since 2010. I think Cam's stuck his foot in the ground and said, "This is what I want." And it takes a lot of, just to get to this point, it obviously takes a lot of stomach on the player's part. The problem the Seahawks have, and this is across the board, to redo a guy like that's contract with 3 years left on it, look at the amount of players they have from the ages of 24 to 27 who they just signed to big deals. Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, K.J. Wright, Bobby Wagner, Cliff Averill, Michael Bennett, Russell Wilson, Doug Baldwin. I mean, even Lynch. They've given so many guys new deals, and it would set such a horrible precedent if they go and redo a guy with 3 years left on his deal. So that's why they can't do it. And I don't know what breaks this log jam. Sometimes it can be moving money around within a deal, but it's certainly a tough one for the Seahawks because, I mean, going back into a deal this early that they just did a couple of years ago would set a really, really tough precedent for the rest of their roster.
Well, Luke Kuechly just got paid by Carolina, 5 years, $62 million, highest paid linebacker in the history of the National Football League. That was just reported. And Marcel Darius got himself a $100 million contract. Now, we all know that these figures aren't exactly the full freight that might actually get paid out when it's all said and done. Is there a chance Eli Manning and or Andrew Luck gets done between now and Sunday, Albert?
I think Luck. I don't think Luck gets done. To me, it would be so smart for the Colts to get Luck done now, though. I mean, it's just you make the numbers way more manageable, and it's easier for you going forward because you're not towards the end of a deal where you're going to have to pay the same rate. Plus, you can fold the option year and the last year of the rookie contract into the deal. And so if you're paying, say, $25 million a year, you can manage those numbers a little bit better with years of the rookie deal in there. I think Eli, there's a good chance it does get done. There's a lot on Eli this year. I think one of the problems for the Giants right now is last year and the last couple of years they've put too much on Eli. They need to be better around him. And, I think that this is a classic case of, the quarterback getting too much blame when things go bad and getting too much credit when things are good, And so the Giants Eli's going to have to play really, really well just for the Giants to be in contention for a playoff spot. I think they know that, despite what public perception's been. And, maybe he's not worth $22, $23 million a year at this stage of his career. But the bigger problem is where else do you go at that position if you are going to move on from Eli Manning. So my guess is that they wind up getting this one done. And, again, I think there's going to be a lot on Eli to carry that team. And that's when they've had problems with Eli in the past.
So what other game, non-national television, for last question for you, looking forward to in week one the most? I want to go deeper than just the glare of the Sunday night and Monday night lights after tonight's Thursday game.
All right. Well, I was going to give you Atlanta, Philly before you yanked that one right off.
I mean, Chip Kelly, that's the low-hanging fruit, to use the Mayockism.
Yeah. I'll give you Buffalo, Indianapolis. I said all that stuff about Eli. A lot of it applies with Luck. I mean, I think Luck does a lot to carry that team. And it's going to be fascinating to me to see all those pieces that Buffalo has on defense, right, and how good they were last year. Now they've got Rex Ryan pushing the button. So what do they do to Andrew Luck, and how are they going to combat Andrew Luck, and how great is Andrew Luck going to have to be in that game, to put his team in a position to score in the 20s? And then on the flip side, you've got an Indianapolis defense that's been maligned over the course of the last couple of years, and obviously looked awful against New England in the playoffs. And they're going up against Tyrod Taylor. So what does Tyrod Taylor look like in that environment? It's just, to me, that game is one that's very rich with storylines between Rex, a lot of the new pieces that Buffalo's brought in, the win now kind of urgency that they've shown in the offseason, and then the Colts with a lot of people under pressure in that organization to get it done, and a lot on the quarterback to be the guy to get them there.
Albert, enjoy tonight's game. Stay dry.
You too, Rich.
You bet. That's Albert Breer, NFL Network, NFL Media Group, NFL.com.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.